It's almost impossible to go a day without hearing something about the Middle East, especially as tensions rise between some of the countries in the region. If you've noticed, the news almost always talks about Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, or Dubai. But did you know that the Middle East is much more than these four countries and the confrontations that take place in the region? Want to see? The region is made up of 18 countries, all with millennia of history and many landscapes to explore, as is the case with Lebanon, our destination today here at Bello Mundo. This small country is one of the gems of the Middle East, with a unique culture and breathtaking landscapes. And all this is not new, because the country is one of the oldest in the world, and if you want proof, just look in the Bible. That's right. The country is mentioned in several parts of the Holy Book, not to mention the times the cedar of Lebanon is mentioned. On top of all this small Asian country is considered by some to be home to the most beautiful women on the planet. But is this true? Well, to find out, you'll have to join me on this incredible journey. So hit the subscribe button and get ready. Here we go. Lebanon is a small country wedged between Israel and Syria, and as you may already know, this is a complicated region, and naturally all the surrounding events affect the country, which also has its internal conflicts and many problems, as well as external disagreements, especially with neighboring Israel. But in today's video, we're going to leave political issues aside and focus on the beauty of this country, both natural and architectural, and of course the women. We'll start with the capital, Beirut, which is also the country's most famous and populous city. With more than 2 million inhabitants, the city sits on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea and is an oasis that combines modernity with millennia of history. And you don't even have to land in the city to see one of its wonders, Rocha dos Pombos. These two stone mountains, sculpted over millions of years, can now be seen by visitors and guests of the hotel strategically built facing this wonder of nature. Once on dry land, we will have the opportunity to see some incredible sights that tell us a little about Lebanon's rich history. The city was founded around 1,500 years before the birth of Christ, and over the course of its more than 3,000 years of history has been part of several empires, including the Greek, Roman, and Ottoman. One of the proofs of this past are the ruins of Cardo Maximus, which was the city's main street during the Roman Empire, and which are still there for anyone to see. It is also possible to admire true gems of religious architecture, as Beirut is home to mosques and cathedrals, a sign of the coexistence of different religions. Today, Lebanon's capital is considered one of the most cosmopolitan and religiously diverse cities in the Middle East. Its streets are home to 18 religious groups, including 4 Muslims, 12 Christians, and a few others. And when night falls, the other side of the city appears, with an extremely lively nightlife and plenty of leisure options, something we don't usually associate with the Middle East. Now our next stop is Tyre, a city located in the south of the country, which like Beirut has thousands of years of history and is even considered one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Perhaps the most curious thing about this city is that it was founded on an island and then joined to the mainland by making landfalls on the sea. The city's founders were the Phoenicians, around 3,000 years before Christ, and since then it has also been occupied by various peoples, and of course the city still bears the marks of those times. Visitors to Tyre can see an ancient avenue surrounded by marble columns and the ruins of public baths from the Roman Empire, as well as a glass factory from the time of the Islamic occupation. And of course, we can't leave out of our trip the city's hippodrome. This building, built by the Romans almost 2,000 years ago, preserves not only a precious piece of Roman architecture, but also the chariot races, which were a major attraction at the time. And for those who love biblical stories, being in Tyre is like reliving part of history by strolling through places that are mentioned in various parts of the scriptures. It was from this region that the skilled craftsmen who built Solomon's temple came, as well as all the cedar used in the construction. This wood, by the way, is totally linked to the country's history and has become such an important symbol that on the Lebanese flag we can see a tree, which is nothing more than a representation of a cedar tree from Lebanon, which represents strength and eternity. The city also appears in several books of the New Testament, and perhaps the most striking passage is the one in which the Apostle Paul traveled to the city and spent 7 days there. Did you already know that? I'm sure that information like this, which we've researched in depth to bring to you especially, is already worth your subscription here at Canal Bello Mundo. Now let's leave Tyre and its historical beauties to one side and talk about another typical beauty of the place. Maybe that's why you're watching this video, and I can assure you that if it is, you won't regret it. All the mixtures that have taken place over the millennia, as we've already shown you, have created amazing landscapes and monuments. But not only that, they've also given rise to a unique combination of people. Lebanese women have traits that make many people consider them the most beautiful in the world. Although they are almost always associated with fair skin, black hair, and light eyes, with a closer look we can discover that they go much further than that. Their facial beauty is highly valued, and women invest a lot of time looking after their skin, face, and hair. Perhaps the most striking feature of a Lebanese woman is her eyes, which are usually large and stand out, especially with the use of makeup that highlights this part of the face. But if you think that the beauty of Lebanese women is only due to the blessing of Mother Nature and the mixing of peoples over thousands of years, I'm sorry to inform you that you're wrong. They are extremely vain and spend a lot of time taking care of their appearance. In addition to normal care, such as using creams and other products, they also make changes through surgery, so much so that Lebanon has become a reference in the region when it comes to plastic surgery. The most popular procedure is rhinoplasty, which is an intervention to modify the nose. Not even the country's financial crisis is hampering the plastic surgery market in Lebanon. More than 1.5 million procedures were carried out. To give you an idea, the country has just over 6 million inhabitants, which would mean that on average, 1 in 4 Lebanese undergoes plastic surgery every year. Of course, we can't take this figure literally, because as I've already told you, the country is a benchmark for this type of surgery, so we need to consider that people from other countries travel to Lebanon for surgery. Something that sets the country apart from others in the region and naturally influences women is the coexistence of different religions. This can be seen in the way they dress on the streets. You only have to take a stroll through a big city like Beirut, for example, to see that there are women who wear the characteristic veil of Islam and many who dress in a more Oriental style. Even among Muslim women, it is possible to identify differences in the way they dress. Within the country, there are followers of 4 different branches of Islam, and each has its own customs and traditions. For Sunni and Shiite women, the veil is an optional accessory, and many dress in a more Western way and choose whether or not to wear the hijab and at what times. For Druze women, on the other hand, who follow a religion close to Islam, the rules are a little stricter, and it is more normal for them to wear a white veil covering their heads and traditional clothing. But you have to be very careful with stereotypes, because we're talking about a country with millions of inhabitants, and even though there are striking characteristics, each person is unique, and there are many who don't fit the typical stereotypes. There is even a movement of Lebanese women who are fighting to break down the stereotypes that exist about them. As a country where women have historically had much more freedom than others in the region, in the Arab world they are often seen only as sex symbols. It's even common in nearby countries for jokes and comments to label Lebanese women as seductive and very vain. But now, how about getting to know some of Lebanon's gastronomy? If you agree, leave your like and come with us. Of course, Lebanese cuisine is ancient, and many of its dishes date back to the Roman Empire, Babylon, and even ancient Egypt. And even if you've never been to Lebanon, you may know some of the country's typical dishes, so take a look. Tabouleh, which is a refreshing salad made with buckwheat, tomatoes, parsley, mint, and seasoned with olive oil and lemon, is a typical dish from the region that has become known practically all over the world and is also very popular. There's also hummus, which is a paste made with chickpeas, sesame paste, garlic, and lemon juice. Although it's typically Lebanese, you can find it in supermarkets all over the world. If you don't know either of these examples, which I think is difficult, I'll give you a hand and show you the dish that is considered the symbol of the country, which I'm sure you know. The symbol food of Lebanon is kibbeh. Whether raw, fried, or baked, these dumplings made from ground wheat and seasoned meat are a real hit, both in Lebanon and in other countries. We could still talk about many other savory dishes, but we need to save room for desserts, and now I'm sure you'll find your mouth watering. Lebanese sweets often mix honey, nuts, and other local ingredients. And one of these delicacies is baklava. This sweet, like many others, is typical of Arab countries and is often known simply as Arabic sweets. But Lebanon has its own version, made with phyllo pastry, nuts, and a sweet syrup. As well as being tasty, they are a unique visual experience, which if you haven't tried yet, you're certainly wasting your time. Our trip today is coming to an end, but wait a few days as we'll be back with another unforgettable tour. So subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our incredible trips. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.